The sun glared harshly against the dusty front yard as Rowan Hale stood frozen beside the old wooden fence, clutching a rejection letter that felt heavier than a stone. His hands shook, not from the cold morning breeze, but from the weight of reality collapsing on him yet again. His 8-year-old son, Kason, played with a broken remote control truck near the porch, unaware that their last hope had slipped through Rowan's fingers. The bank had denied his loan. The house his late wife had dreamed of raising their son in was now days from foreclosure. Rowan looked at Kason, and a grief deeper than exhaustion cut through him. He whispered silently to the universe for a miracle. Anything, anyone, to help him protect the only thing he had left. Little did he know that miracle would come wrapped in an offer that sounded like a cruel trick of fate. Marry a woman he had never met, a woman confined to a wheelchair, a billionaire heiress with a broken past and a damaged reputation, and in return all his debts would disappear. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected miracles, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Kindness. It truly helps this channel grow and keep stories like this alive. Rowan remembered the conversation vividly. A lawyer in a crisp gray suit had shown up at his doorstep, claiming to represent the Reyes family, one of the wealthiest but most reclusive families in the city. Their daughter, Ariana Reyes, had survived a terrible accident 3 years prior. Paralyzed from the waist down, she was seldom seen in public. Rumors of her temper, her withdrawn behavior, and her refusal to speak to anyone outside her family swirled constantly in the media, painting her as a cold-hearted recluse. But behind those headlines, the lawyer claimed, lived a woman her father desperately wanted to see healed, not physically, but emotionally. And for reasons Rowan didn't understand yet, the Reyes family believed a marriage of stability, respect, and companionship with someone like him, a quiet, honest, single father, might help her find her way back to life. Rowan had laughed at first, tired and desperate enough to assume it was a scam. But when the lawyer slid a contract across the table, listing every debt cleared, every medical bill for Kason's asthma treatment fully covered, and a home that would belong to him outright, the laughter died in his throat. The lawyer said it plainly. Ariana didn't need romance. She needed someone who wouldn't use her, someone who would treat her like a person, not a wheelchair, not a bank account, not a rumor. Rowan wasn't sure he believed that anyone truly wanted him for something good, but he was out of options. He signed the agreement with a hand that trembled, praying he wouldn't regret it. Days later, he and Kason were brought to the Reyes estate, an enormous glass and stone mansion overlooking the coastline. It was midday, the world bright and unforgiving in its beauty, making Rowan feel like a stain on an otherwise perfect canvas. He tried to straighten his thrifted shirt, brushing off dust as if doing so could somehow hide the truth of who he was. Kason clung to his hand, overwhelmed by the luxury around them. That was when Rowan saw her for the first time. Ariana sat in a sleek, custom-built white wheelchair near the fountain, her long, dark hair flowing over her shoulders like a curtain hiding her emotions. Her face was pale, beautiful, but distant, like someone who had mastered the art of disappearing even while fully present. Her grey eyes held no warmth, no curiosity, not even resentment. Just emptiness. She didn't acknowledge him when he approached. She barely breathed, or at least it seemed that way. Her hands rested motionless on her lap. The only sign of life was the small tremor in her fingers that she seemed desperate to hide. Rowan's heart pinched, not out of pity, but recognition. Pain could make anyone disappear from the inside. Life in the Reyes mansion felt like living inside a silent museum. Staff members escorted Rowan and Kason through sprawling halls, past towering windows and paintings worth more than anything Rowan had touched. Every morning he would greet Ariana, even though she never responded, and he would sit beside her in the garden, letting the sunlight fall over them both. He didn't push her to talk or to engage. He simply existed beside her, quietly, respectfully, hoping something inside her would shift. It wasn't until the fourth morning that he noticed something. When Kaysen ran past them chasing butterflies and accidentally bumped into her wheelchair, Ariana flinched, not from pain, but fear. Rowan offered a gentle apology, even though it wasn't his fault, and when he spoke, he saw her eyes flicker to his face for half a second, a spark of awareness, a crack in her wall. It vanished instantly, but it was enough to keep him trying. Little by little, Rowan pieced together the fragments of her history. Ariana had been a bright, athletic woman, destined to take over her father's empire. But a car accident stole not only her mobility, it stole her confidence, her joy, and her belief that she deserved to be seen. The man she had been engaged to left her weeks after the accident, telling the media she was emotionally unstable. The world labeled her broken, and she believed it. Rowan began speaking to her casually every day, telling her about simple things, his struggles, his dreams for Kaysen, memories of his late wife. He never asked about her accident or her past. He only offered glimpses of his truth, planting seeds of trust in the quiet space between them. One afternoon, while he trimmed roses in the garden, he heard something so faint he almost missed it. Ariana's voice, soft, cracked, unused. She asked if he needed help. He turned slowly, afraid even a sudden movement might push her back into silence. She didn't meet his eyes, but she repeated her question. He said he would love some company. She nodded once and remained beside him as he worked. She didn't touch the roses. She didn't move her hands at all. But her presence felt like the first sunrise after a long winter. Small moments followed. She began eating meals at the table instead of in her room. She allowed Kaysen to show her his drawings, her eyes softening slightly when he explained each scribble with dramatic enthusiasm. Rowan saw the first smile, faint, fleeting, but real, when Kaysen brought her a seashell he found by the shore and told her it sounded like the ocean missed her. The wedding day approached faster than Rowan expected. The contract said the ceremony had to be held within 60 days, and while he felt no romance, he felt something deeper, a responsibility, a strange connection, a desire to give her dignity, not obligation. The ceremony was small, held outside by the cliff at noon, the sky clear and bright. Ariana wore a simple cream dress, elegant but modest. She kept her eyes lowered most of the time, gripping the arms of her wheelchair with invisible tension. Rowan could feel her fear like a pulse in the air. Reporters were banned. Only a few witnesses attended, including Kaysen, who proudly held a ring box as if it contained the world. The officiant read the vows quietly. Rowan spoke gently when it was his turn, promising respect, patience, and honesty. But when it came time for Ariana to say her vows, she remained silent for an agonizing long moment. Rowan saw her throat work, saw the panic rising like a storm. He placed his hand lightly over hers, thinking only to calm her. That was when it happened. Her fingers moved, then her wrist, then, slowly, painfully, Ariana pushed against the armrests. Gasps rippled through the small audience as she lifted herself, rising inch by trembling inch. Her legs shook violently, her face contorted in effort, sweat gathering at the edges of her hairline. She stood unsteadily, wobbling like a newborn fawn, but she stood. Everyone froze. Even the officiant forgot to breathe. Ariana looked at Rowan with tears streaming down her cheeks, not tears of pain, but defiance, relief, courage. She whispered, barely audible, that she wasn't broken. Not anymore. Not with someone who saw her as more than a chair, more than a contract, more than a shadow. The world did not applaud. There was no dramatic music, only sunlight, a trembling woman, a stunned groom, and a single boy clutching a ring box with wide shimmering eyes. She collapsed back into the wheelchair seconds later, breathless. But she was smiling, truly smiling, for the first time since the accident. Rowan knelt beside her, overwhelmed. She whispered that she stood because she wanted to enter the marriage with strength, not because she owed it to him, but because she finally believed she could be something more than her damage. The wedding concluded quietly, But something powerful had awakened between them. Not love, not yet, but mutual healing. A recognition of two souls scarred differently, but searching for a reason to rise again. As weeks turned into months, Rowan and Ariana built a life that neither had expected. She learned to take a few supported steps each day, and he learned to trust that not all gifts from life came wrapped in suffering. Kaysen adored her, filling the house with laughter she once believed she would never hear again. Rowan found himself waking each morning with gratitude rather than fear, and Ariana discovered that strength wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was the quiet decision to keep trying. Their marriage became real, not because of a contract or expectations, but because two broken hearts chose to grow in the same direction. If this story touched your heart in any way, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps Everyday Kindness continue bringing emotional, meaningful stories to the world. Special request: comment, "I believe in second chances" if this story moved you. And so, under the warm daylight that once revealed all their cracks, Rowan, Ariana, and little Kaysen built a home not of wealth or perfection, but of healing. A quiet miracle born from pain, patience, and the courage to rise even when the world expects you to stay seated.